Sometimes, man, it's so funny to watch people get really inflamed and angry and emotional when you bring fact after fact on them. It's interesting seeing people get very emotional about certain topics and certain fighters. Right now, triggers people get triggered when they hear about Canelo or they hear about Floyd. It's funny as hell to watch them go off the deep end and get super triggered. Um, and it's just one of the strangest thing where they would call you a fanboy, and it's the weirdest thing. If it's another fighter like Sugar Ray Leonard or Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Robinson, you don't get that reaction from people. But fighters who are proving themselves to be very good and beating fighters, I guess, that they believed or they you know they put their money on to beat them. I think that's what really hurts these guys. A lot of these people who are just, even the people you see right now today who attack Canelo, it's because Canelo beat Triple G. It's because Canelo beat Arislandi Lara. And because Floyd beat Canelo, everybody feels any fighter could beat Canelo. That's slick, that's skilled. And I think a lot of them have been proven wrong time and time again. I can remember tapping into the times when I hated Pacquiao. I did not like Pacquiao. And he would just keep on winning and winning and winning. And it only get me angrier and angrier. And I have this feeling that these people feel like these fighters like Floyd and Canelo, they're not good fighters. I've even heard OGs, and all of them, I'll tell you something, excellence. Brother Nassim Richardson said it best. He says, a lot of people can't identify with guys who are perfectionists, who do things to such a level, with such perfection that a lot of people can't identify with it. And they have to find reasons to rationalize what just happened. I think of the exceptional fighters like Andre Ward, like Floyd Mayweather, who basically their entire career was perfection. I remember once Larry Merchant and his hate and his animosity, his jealousy towards Floyd Mayweather saying, in boxing, there's no room for perfection. That's what he said. There's no room for perfection. And that's an ironical statement, seeing that Sugar Ray Robinson was called perfection in the making in how he fought. So it's like the irony to hear a guy go against the grain of boxing because he's jealous. He's hateful of a guy who's doing everything so very good. And not only does he do it very well, but he has the audacity to say, he has the confidence or the audacity to say, I'm better than everybody that's come before me. Nowadays, we hear Clarissa Shields saying the same thing, but she doesn't get as much flack because what you will find is that fighters like Clarissa Shields and even these up and coming young fighters, they won't get as much flack as Floyd Mayweather kind of paved the way for them. But even in addition to that, they haven't reached that superstar status that Floyd Mayweather or Canelo has attained. And so the hate that's leveraged, that's levied towards Floyd, it kind of reminds me of Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, before he lost to Joe Frazier. It reminds me of how much hate and prejudice Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay received, before, the military even shutting him down from going, because he said he wasn't going to war. How the government treated him was mostly because he was black and he was outspoken. He was a very great orator. If this was somebody else, maybe he would have been excused from the war. And all of this I'm saying is to say that when they like you, when the fans like you, they like you. When they don't like you, they don't like you. What I mean by that is, of course, there's a lot of people who like Floyd Mayweather, but what I mean is there were detractors of Floyd Mayweather from way back when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. There were detractors. I remember Floyd Mayweather was facing a fighter at super featherweight. I'm trying to remember his name, from the Dominican Republic. And they were talking about how he felt he was better than Sugar Ray Robinson back then in 2004? I think it was 2003, 2004. I remember Emmanuel Stewart declaring, "What he thinks he's better than Sugar Ray, but obviously he doesn't even have a good jab," and like that was so offensive to Emmanuel Stewart back then. And I thought that was so funny because, as Nassim Richardson said, you have to aspire to be great. Muhammad Ali was saying he was the greatest before he was the greatest, and Howard Cosell was like seriously like castigating, right? But Howard Cosell obviously don't know shit about boxing like that, but nonetheless, it was going in on Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali lost to Joe Frazier, Howard Cosell conducted an interview with Muhammad Ali in which he just trashed Muhammad Ali. He talked about how, he was this brash, outspoken, disrespectful young man who hasn't changed. It's just his skills have diminished and he's no longer as good as he used to be. Now he's out of shape. He has bad conditioning. He can't punch. His opponents that he's picking is crap. This is why Howard Cosell was going in on him. And a lot of people out there were thinking the same thing. And it was just like tearing the guy down. This is the man who now everybody years later, declare he's the greatest. See what I'm saying? Now people say, oh, Muhammad Ali is the greatest. But when did they really start making that chant that Muhammad Ali was the greatest? After he beat George Foreman. After he avenged his losses to Joe Frazier. After his career was almost over, when he was suffering from Parkinson and couldn't speak anymore and tell jokes like he wanted to and get with people, that's when the payoff started happening because he was not talking anymore. He was afflicted. That's when people started saying, oh, yes, you're truly the greatest. Now, they were saying it while he was in his lifetime as well. But for real, Muhammad Ali was dubbed the greatest as he couldn't speak very well anymore. He wasn't the Louisville lip anymore. And I'm just saying, Floyd Mayweather never went down that path. He never lost a fight. He never was humbled, like people like to say. He was never, and so there's this animosity towards him. There's this animosity towards Andre Ward. I even hear people say Andre Ward left boxing as a coward, which is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And people animosity now towards Canelo because Canelo beat their great fighter, their great white hope, Triple G. He was supposed to be ducking Triple G. He was supposed to serve up to Triple G. Triple G was supposed to humble him, supposed to beat him up. Didn't happen. Everybody was waiting for Triple G to stop him. Oh, we got the monster now to discipline Canelo because we feel he's getting favored with the commissions and this and that and the other. This is the way how people behave. But to believe that black media some of the black media at least, was standing behind seeing Canelo's demise because they felt Floyd beat him so easily. Other black fighters can beat him so easily. And he faced Danny Jacobs. Nope. Faced Austin Trout. Nope. Faced Araceli Lara. Nope. And he's going to face other black fighters, and we'll see what happens with that. I think the greatest threat, like I said, is Demetrius Sanders. But the point is, at the end of the day, this is what these people are angry about. And I don't understand why they should be angry. I don't understand why all the hate. I don't understand why all this politics and these games that these guys play. And they try to convince you, oh, yeah, this guy, he ducked these fighters. First of all, let's be real. You duck a fighter when you don't face a fighter that's of equal or greater caliber. And you can't say that Sergey Kovalev, you can't say it, is of a lower caliber fighter because of his resume and everything. You can't say that he's a low caliber fighter than Jamal Charlo or Demetrius Andrade, who are the two guys that were in the pathway for Canelo to face at middleweight. You can't say that, and that's why it can't be a duck. No matter how much I would like to say it, I can't say it. All Canelo has been facing, besides the stability fights, which will be Yildirim and then Rocky Fielding, has been top-tier opponents. Or guys who are names in the sport of boxing. That's all he's been facing. And so it would be disrespectful and wrong for me to say that, oh, he was just facing old fighters, or oh, he's been facing guys who washed up, or oh, he's facing fighters that he could beat, or oh, he's facing cab drivers. That's not true. None of that stuff is true. So you have to be fair. And the problem with people in boxing today is they're very emotional. They're not fair. I even listen to the OGs. They jealous. These OGs jealous because they lost fights. They got their ass beat. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to call no names, but they got their ass beat. They got their ass handed to them. And all of them wanted to be undefeated. I listened to my good friend, good boxer out there, Vander Holyfield. And he at least was very honest about it. He said, man, I didn't see myself losing. I didn't think that I was going to lose any fight. And then I had to confront the situation where I lost the fight. What do? I keep on going. I keep on going. Win or lose, I'm going to take on the challenge, which is the right way to go if you lose a fight. Anthony Joshua, you think Anthony Joshua wanted to lose a fight? No, but nobody wants to lose a fight. Jamal Charlo, when he lost his fight to Tony Harrison, he didn't want to lose no fight. But the point is, it happens in boxing. I just feel that some of those OGs, they just jealous that Floyd makes so much money in the sport of boxing. And I listen to some fans talk real stupid. What I mean by that is, they're like, why didn't he fight this fight? Or why he didn't fight that fight? Well, he fought the best fighters. And he was looking to make the biggest paydays. Why would I go backwards? Think about this. And fighters today think like this all the time. And even Roy Jones Jr. to some degree thinks like this. Why would I go backwards? Roy Jones Jr. even said that just in an argument just recently. Why would I go backwards and face a guy who, one, is a lower tier opponent to the guy I just faced, and two, don't bring in the revenue that guy that I just faced brought in? Why would I do that? Floyd said a model that was interesting. The model was, I pay my dues, I run through everybody. I proved that I could run through anybody. It doesn't matter who it is, I can beat their ass. And now, what I'm going to face is elite fighters. I'm not interested in facing a fighter that's not elite or a fighter that's not at the very top. So when you look at Floyd and how he worked with his model, just like what Canelo's doing now, is give me the best fighters. I only want the best fighters to face now. And that's what Floyd did. Floyd only faced the best fighters. And when it wasn't the best fighter, he looked for a replacement that's just next to the best level. And that was his career. When you look at so his model wasn't like the Roy Jones Jr. Roy was like, hey, you got a belt, you got something, I'm gonna face you. Or you call me out, I'm gonna just face you. Some guys, like I listen to Willie Boudreaux say, man, I ain't gonna resist anybody call me out, I'm gonna fight him, right? When you reach a certain level in boxing, you could do like Muhammad Ali and just face the next contender, the next in line. It doesn't matter the cab driver, what their skill level is, the next in line, you face them, right? That's because Muhammad Ali was a heavyweight. There's only one division, so you just have to face the next in line and the next in line. It don't matter how good they are or nothing. You're just giving everybody a shot, right? Muhammad Ali could do that. But when you're going through multiple divisions, when you are a superstar boxer, you want to fight a certain level of competition. You don't want to just fight any and everybody, right? And that's what a lot of people accuse Floyd of, and that's why they call him a cherry picker and stuff, which is ridiculous. They're saying that, he was just fighting certain fighters. But when you look at the fighters he was facing, I mean, for the latter half of his career, it was only top 3 fighters. Nobody less than the top 3 except for Marcos Maidana. You look at it, every single fighter he was ranked in the top 3. In the latter end of his career, he faced more number 1 fighters than he did in the beginning of his career. Okay, so he was facing everybody at super featherweight. He fought everybody at super featherweight. Lightweight, he fought the best guy, and then at super lightweight, he fought 2 very good guys. Again, top 3 guys. But then after that, when he went to welterweight, it was almost a totally different story. He was fighting top guys all the way through. So you can't knock Floyd. It's like when I hear people say, you can't knock Canelo. Canelo right now, he's facing the very best. He just fought the lineal champion. Ladies and gentlemen. A guy who won the Super 6. Okay, Callum Smith's no joke. He's not somebody you could just walk through. Okay, he's a better fighter than David Benavidez. I keep saying it over and over again. Canelo versus David Benavidez go just like Canelo versus Callum Smith. Jamal Charlo is a stronger fighter, and he has a little bit more counterpunching skills and a lot more things he can do. But Canelo versus Jamal Charlo, as it stands, is going to go the same way like a Callum Smith fight to some degree. Because once you're missing punches, it's a different thing when you're hitting and somebody's blocking the punches, so you're at least hitting something. When you're missing punches, totally different story, especially if you're missing and you're getting punished for it. So all of this just to say this, because I thought this was just hilarious watching what people say and what people do. Haters gonna hate, as we know. But at the end of the day, you got to know that these fighters are excellent because their names are in everybody's mouth. Canelo's name is in everybody's mouth. Floyd's name is in everybody's mouth. That tells you they're exceptional fighters. You know, I listen to OGs try to really disclaimer Floyd, and then they have never accomplished anything on the level of what Floyd has accomplished. How can you disclaimer a guy and you haven't even accomplished what that guy has accomplished? How can you disclaimer him? I can understand if you've accomplished at least a portion of what he's done. And I'm talking about some exceptionally great fighters. I've heard them say all kinds of things. And they know, because these guys know boxing, they know Floyd is in a league all his own, that he's better than all of them that came before him. They know this. They know this for a fact, because if they had to prep to face Floyd, their tune would change. Okay? It's like all these fighters talking about they want to face Canelo, but as soon as they realize they got to step in the ring with Canelo, their tune is going to change. And I'm not a big Canelo fan, but this is just the reality of the situation. You gotta have defense to deal with Canelo, man. You gotta make Canelo miss. You gotta make him pay. Right? And Demetrius Sanders is probably the best to do that. Billy Joe Saunders too. But the point is, a lot of these guys talk, even the OGs, and you could tell the difference between a Nassim Richardson. Nassim Richardson was a great soul because he would show you the qualities of a fighter that make them great. Nassim Richardson didn't have time to tear down the young guns and the young fighters. He was the real deal. He was a real one. Not like some of these OGs out here tearing down fighters. That's not what your job is. You trying to bring the next generation, but you tearing down fighters? Tell me how that's helping the situation. How does that help in boxing? Holding on to your old glory days. And you still, most of those OGs out there, they still can't even compare to the performances that the present day fighters are doing, the level of boxing they have. And the way how they're able to preserve. And now I hear a lot of people say, well, Canelo, he being brought around right. Okay. So when he faces Jamal Charlo, which he will face, and when he does face either Demetrius Andrade or Billy Joe Saunders, whoever he faces, that you think will beat his ass, and let's just say per se he beats their ass, right? When he finishes beating them, and you what excuse you gonna come up with? Because all these detractors out there, including the OGs out there, have been saying, oh, he hadn't been facing young fighters. So he faces a big, young, strong fighter in Callum Smith, who won the Super Six. And he beats him like he really beats him like nobody's business. He beats him, and then they say, oh, well, Callum Smith wasn't really all of that, and he's probably the weakest link and blah. So they start going around. Okay, fine. So guess what? He gonna be coming after somebody else. But what happens? I'm saying, what happens if he beats that person? What are y'all gonna say? And to me, all this hateration, and all this attacks on exceptionally great boxers. There's no doubt Canelo's pound for pound number one. Y'all could put Terrence Crawford's name up in that mix how much you want. There is no doubt this dude is pound for pound number one right now. It's what it is. And I am a fair person. It's not about being a Canelo fan. It's just look at the facts, man. Look at the data in front of you. Facts don't lie. Numbers don't lie. I remember when they didn't want to give Andre Ward the pound for pound number one status after he beat Sergey Kovalev the first time. Ward had to go back a second time and beat his ass. Now I want to show you a comparison. Canelo schooled Triple G in the first fight. They say Triple G won that fight. Up to this day, the stupid narrative comes out of there, in spite of all the data that's out there that shows that Canelo beat this guy easy. Okay? So he has to go back and rematch Triple G, just like how Andre Ward had to go back and rematch Sergey Kovalev. I want to show you something. And these stupid people, some of them still say, oh, it was a draw. These stupid people, this is how much hateration we got, won a third fight with a 39-year-old Triple G, who is still at middleweight. But Canelo's fighting at 168 pounds. And these stupid people will tell you that Triple G, Canelo's not going to stop Triple G. Obviously, that's a recipe for a knockout. Canelo's going to knock out Triple G's ass the next time they face each other. This is a foregone conclusion. This is not an if or but or maybe. He's going to get knocked out. How do we know this? This is common sense. So let me proceed with a common sense point of view. This is not about emotion. Don't care about emotion. Very simply. Canelo knocked out a guy at 175. He's been all the way up there. When Canelo first tried Triple G, he was a smaller guy. He was coming up in weight. He was the smaller guy. All right? He had not acclimatized to middleweight yet. For Triple G, he was fighting him on the back foot to be on the safe side. He boxed him. The second fight, what did Canelo do? He walked Triple G down for the entire fight because he acclimatized to 160. Now Canelo is sparring heavyweights. Now Canelo is fighting 200-pound guys. Now Canelo is campaigning at 168. This is not rocket science. Canelo is hitting harder than Triple G now. This is not rocket science. He's stronger than Triple G now. He's younger than Triple G now. He's quicker than Triple G now. Triple G's on the decline. You're telling me Triple G's going to move up to 168, face Canelo, and he's going to make it out of 12 rounds? Did you see what Canelo did to Callum Smith? A full-blooded 168-pounder? You think Triple G can take that assault? And that's a tempered Canelo. When he crashes Triple G, that fight is over. We all know Triple G's soft to the body. We all know that's his Achilles heel. We saw it against Derevyanchenko. We all know Triple G took punishment in 4 straight fights. It's going to be a devastating massacre when Canelo faces Triple G the third time. He's going to knock him out. This is a foregone conclusion. That fight is not going the distance. Okay, he's going to stop him. So there's no rocket science behind this. Every time you have to look at something, you have to make an argument. You have to see the facts for what they are. Anybody else who thinks that Triple G is going to win that fight or he's going to make it to the final bell, you are in a dreamland. You are in a dream state. You need to wake up. You're in nostalgia. You're in fanboyism. You're not in reality. He's going to get knocked out. Bad. He don't got that kind of defense. He eats punches. I don't care who's training with him. He don't got that defense. And he's too damn slow. He's going to get knocked out. Now, with respect to, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way because, like, let me say this. The man came out of obscurity. He fought bums or whatever, but he built a name for himself. He built a brand for himself. You know, want to get that paycheck. So that's why DAZN wants that Triple G fight. So they're going to get it. But it's not going to be competitive. It's just what it is. It's not going to be a competitive fight. Let me go back to something else. You know, I'm hearing Triple G versus Jaime Munguia. Think about what I'm saying. Triple G versus Jaime Munguia. Why would Golden Boy put Munguia in the ring with Triple G? Why would they sacrifice Munguia? They're not sacrificing Munguia by facing Triple G. Jaime Munguia could beat Triple G. Jaime Munguia can beat Triple G. Maybe not stop him, but he can beat him. Triple G's too old now. He was made to look good with a custom-made opponent. But every elite boxer right now in the middleweight division would beat Triple G. Andre, Charlo, at 168, Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Demetrius Andrade, they're all going to beat him. Derevyanchenko, if he gets a second shot at him, will beat him again. Triple G is done. His career's over. Okay? And he's just staying fresh for Canelo. That's it. That's probably his farewell fight. Y'all don't realize that. You can't be caught up in this nostalgia. Father Time is undefeated. And guess who Father Time has less grip on? Canelo. He's only 30. Charlo, he's only 30. Benavidez, he's 20, 22, 23, 24. Caleb Plant, these young guys. Time's on their side. What's his name? Andre was 32, I think, and what's the kid's name? Billy Joe Saunders was 30, 31, 32. Young cats. Okay. Some of them are bigger than Triple G. My point being, anyway, I'm gonna say it again. People tripping over how great certain fighters are. And they're great fighters. Period. And I hear them trying to put the caveat in. Oh yeah, no, Canelo's a great fighter, and then they go back into their hateration. Because most of the stuff that they say is unfounded. Most of the stuff they say is unfounded. It's not true. Well, Canelo, he was caught using clenbuterol, but you didn't hear that he was cleared of it. He was cleared of the charges. The charges were removed. So you can talk how much you want about clenbuterol. Guess what? Canelo is tested year round by VADA. He's tested year round. So how many times are you going to talk about the clenbuterol issue? Then they go on to talk about him ducking Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, which is true to some degree, but it's not really true at the same time. It's like a catch-22. Because how can you duck Charlo and you go and face Kovalev? That you can't say that's a duck. It's a catch-22. Then you can't, you can't say you ducked Charlo, you can't say you ducked Andre because he went up and faced Kovalev. And then he came down and faced Callum Smith after. And now he's taking a stay busy fight. What you can say is the WBC don't know what the hell they're doing. How you can put a vacant title available to Canelo and then you're not going to let Benavidez face Canelo for it. That's stupid. So I'm just saying all of this to say, when you are that good, as Nassim Richardson says, they're going to find something to tear you down with. They did it to Lomachenko. They did it to Triple G. They did it to Floyd. They do it to Canelo now. They look to tear down greatness because they're mediocre people. A lot of them are mediocre. They know what it is to be mediocre. They don't know what it is to be excellent. They don't know what it is to be doing perfection and learning and growing in the sport. And it's so weird how they hype up the fake and they shit on the real. Think about it. Hype up Triple G. That's the fake dude. That was the guy that Abel Sanchez said from 154 to 175, he would dominate. Up to this day, he has not touched 154. He has not gone to 175, and he has no championship fights at 168. The guy who Abel Sanchez claimed would do these things, Triple G, did not do them. It is Canelo who has done it. Canelo who has done it, showing he is the real deal. But yet, everybody's willing and ready and able to kind of just, let certain things slide with Triple G. Let Triple G not taking no pay cut, nothing. He just let everything slide with Triple G. But when it comes to Canelo, it's a totally different standard. Which fighter has faced the level of opposition that Canelo has faced? Has Andre faced it? No. Has Charlo faced it? No. Has Benavidez faced it? No. Has Callum Smith faced it? No. Has Caleb Plant faced it? No. Has Billy Joe Saunders faced it? No. But yet, at the end of the day, Canelo's being criticized for facing better competition than the guys he is his contemporaries who have not been facing shit, but nobody's giving them flack for that. I'm just saying the hypocrisy of the thing. The hypocrisy of the thing. They're so focused on Canelo, they're not watching that the fighters not facing each other. There's no Billy Joe Saunders versus Demetrius Andrade. There's no Demetrius Andrade versus Jamal Charlo. There's no Jamal Charlo versus Christian Bank Jr. or David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. They're not rushing to face each other. And nobody's talking about this. And I find it hypocritical. Everybody talking about, Floyd, man, he ducked Miguel Cotto, and Paul Williams, he ducked Paul Williams. But Paul Williams wouldn't face Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto isn't facing Shane Mosley. Well, Miguel Cotto did face Shane Mosley. He did face Shane Mosley. But I'm saying Miguel Cotto didn't face Ricky Hatton, and Zab Judah didn't face Ricky Hatton, and Paul Williams didn't face Shane Mosley. And we could go on and on and on. Well, who didn't face who? But all of a sudden, only Floyd we see. Because Pacquiao didn't face Paul Williams. And Pacquiao was around. Why didn't Pacquiao face Paul Williams? Why didn't Pacquiao face Pacquiao face Carlos Quintana? See, they bring up all these names. But it only applies to one guy. It don't apply to the other guys. And that's the weirdness of the hypocrisy of the thing. And what I'm saying is, you can't be giving one fighter an excuse to get away from shit or ride off the other fighter's success. But you're ready to go hard on one fighter from one era. It shows the separation. I heard a guy. I was just recently on Facebook in Facebook group. I'm gonna go back to Floyd Mayweather because it's a controversial figure. I like it. I like talking about him. I like talking about him to see these haters and stuff. They get pissed off when I start talking about this stuff. I don't have a problem. But I think about the ridiculousness of one guy. He says, "Oh, look at Floyd. He a shame and embarrassment to the sport. Why don't he go out there and face Canelo again? Why don't he go out there and face Crawford? Why don't he go out there and face Gervonta Davis or Lomachenko?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, are you really that stupid? Canelo's at 168. Terrence Crawford, okay. Terrence Crawford's actually a welterweight. So that actually makes sense. But how the hell is Floyd supposed to go down to 130 and face Lomachenko and Gervonta Davis? This is the level of stupidity that the haters have. The stupidity that you will try to force a 44-year-old guy that's retired, that's fighting exhibition fights. Exhibition fight is a fight which it can vary because it's an exhibition fight. So it could be a real serious fight, but the only thing is the scores are not official. So Mayweather facing Logan Paul is not a big deal. It's an exhibition. However they want to take it and whatever, but it's an exhibition fight. It's not a real bona fide pro fight. So it does not matter. Floyd could go and fight a cab driver for all we care. That's up to you if you want to tune in. The point is, it's an exhibition fight. That's okay. Exhibition fights are cool. Whatever you want to do, whoever you want to face. It'll be another thing if it was a pro fight, but it being an exhibition fight is not a problem. Now, here's the thing. This dude's going to say that Floyd chooses the easy route to face Logan Paul. I'm like, motherfucker, he's retired. He could face Logan Paul. He could face whoever the hell he wants to face. This dude is so stupid that he literally is trying to lump Floyd facing Canelo at 168. Floyd's never been at 168. We all know this. Canelo's a pro fighter, and he's pound for pound top 3, right? How the hell am I? How the hell? I mean, these guys don't even know the difference between an exhibition fight. They don't understand the difference between a pro fight. They don't understand these things. So he's like, why doesn't Floyd at 44 years old go and face real competition? I'm like, dumbass. And they try to compare Floyd to Pacquiao, and they just don't get it. Pacquiao, first of all, can't face Canelo at 168. That's the first point. That would be stupid, okay? Plain, clean, stupid. There's weight classes and divisions for a reason. But on top of that, Pacquiao has longevity. He's been able to stay out there and fight, okay? And he became world champion at the age of 40. But he's now 42. He's 42 years of age. What this means is that Manny Pacquiao is probably going to give up his championship belt. And he's probably going to go and face Conor McGregor in an exhibition fight or a pro fight, whatever he wants to do. It doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, boxing is a young man's sport. And you can have some longevity in boxing, but you got to have defense. Defense gives you more longevity. And Pacquiao's defense, while it's pretty good, it's not good enough. So I think he's making the wise decision by leaving off in the sunset on a winning note, beating Conor McGregor, going back to his native Philippines, having an exhibition or a pro fight, his last pro fight against somebody down there who wants to go down there, beating their ass, and riding off into the sunset a winner. Why not? And who knows? Maybe he have an exhibition fight with Floyd down the road. Just like Oscar might have an exhibition fight with Floyd, which would be great. I would love to see that. So This is the kind of stupidity we get when people who they can't understand perfection. They can't understand excellence. They don't appreciate it, you know. And a lot of people are salty and angry and they want to go back to the way things were and all this kind of bullshit. And I'm like, they're resistant to change. They're stuck in a time warp. And I'm like, listen, man, boxing as a sport has changed. If you don't want to evolve with the sport of boxing, it'll just roll on without you. And we all know you're going to go watch. So shut the fuck up. Enjoy the ride. Learn to adjust to the things that life offers you. A lot of these guys, they don't know how to do that. And they don't have the knowledge of boxing. They don't understand the in and out of boxing. They don't understand boxing as a sport. They don't understand and appreciate what certain elite fighters have done in the sport of boxing. Present day elite fighters. I hear them talking down Errol Spence and all this bullshit. And I'm like, Errol Spence is an elite fighter. So is Terrence Crawford. But it's Errol Spence particularly because people behave so unreasonable with this guy. With Errol Spence. I'm not picking no sides. I'm not Errol Spence fan or Terrence Crawford fan. I don't know who will win when they clash with each other. But the point at the end of the day is, instead of being supportive of the sport like Nassim Richardson is, these idiots, and pushing for what you want, these idiots keep on trying to trash and bad talk and turn down fighters and make them look like they. I heard a ridiculous conversation. I can't tell you how ridiculous it was. One person, a fan, said, and this is where you have to have boxing knowledge, but a lot of these people don't have no boxing knowledge. They said that John the Beast Mugabe, he would hang with Canelo, with Triple G, with Jamal Charlo, with Demetrius Andrade at 160. I looked at these clowns and I said, well, okay, now, all right. So you're saying John the Beast Mugabe would hang with these dudes? It's like, yeah. I said, okay, let's try and put this in perspective. John the Beast Mugabe. Who did John the Beast Mugabe beat in his entire career? Who did he beat? I know who he faced. I'm asking you who he beat in his entire career. Name me a reputable or notable fighter he beat in his entire career. One. Okay. Let's stop. Let's name me one reputable fighter that he faced before he faced Marvin Hagler. Because he wasn't world champion, right? He was knocking out guys in the 1 or 2 rounds, sure. But who were these guys? Any notable names in there? If there's no notable names in there, okay. After he faced Marvin Hagler, what reputable name did John the Beast Mugabe beat? And the answer is none. There's none. In fact, he was beaten by guys who, at 154, who you guys don't even know their names. It's a French guy that beat him for the 154 title. He was a contender about 3 times for the 154 title, and he got beaten every single time by knockout. He was knocked out every single time. When they say, well, Marvin Hagler did a number on him before that. No, he was overhyped. Now, bear this in mind, because a lot of people don't know their boxing history. They don't. They know about names. They know about the hype. They live through the time of the hype, but they don't know their boxing history. So I'm going to break it down to you guys. John the Beast Mugabe fought in a time where we had what is called same-day weigh-ins. That's the first point you need to understand, which means he came in the same day and weighed in on the scale, which means he was not that far away if he was fighting Marvin Hagler from 160 pounds, or he was not that far away from 154. John the Beast Mugabe fought both at 154 and 160. I would say that he was a blown-up 154 pounder. Okay? This is the important point for you to understand. Today, there is no such thing as same-day weigh-ins. So, the middleweights that come in on the scales today come in on the scales in a day before weighing, especially if you're talking about middleweights. You're not even talking about 154 pounders now. And when you come in on the scales the day before, the following day you're allowed to rehydrate. And you can rehydrate 10 to 15 to 20 pounds more than what you weighed in on the scales. So we have middleweights that weigh anything between 170 to 180 pounds. John the Beast Mugabe will be coming in 160, 165 pounds. Now, a 165 pounder who's not really a true middleweight facing a 170 to 180 pounder, he don't stand a chance. These guys would destroy him. Triple G, who's supposedly a small middleweight, comes in 170 to 173 pounds. We all know he's solid, he's sturdy, and he really hits like his hands. He got bone density that's ridiculous, and he hits like a freight train. People say Marvin Hagler versus Triple G. He's too small for Triple G. Marvin Hagler never faced light heavyweights, ladies and gentlemen. The light heavyweight division was 170 pound, 75 pound division. Marvin Hagler never fucked with those guys. So how the hell is he going to beat a guy who's coming in as a light heavyweight in Triple G? He's not going to beat Triple G. Triple G will stop his ass. Why? I will explain. Marvin Hagler was known for his toughness. He could take a punch. He fought that way. Well conditioned, could take a punch. So he got hit. Okay? He wasn't this slick defensive fighter. He did have a good jab, and he could try and fight you off the end of his stick. But at the end of the day, he still got caught. And you just look at his fight with Juan Domingo Roland. Was tagging his ass up. He was peppering him with the jab, though. And he finally cut his eye. Domingo Roland's eye. And that's how he was able to turn the tide against Juan Domingo Roland, who was a guy that was stopped in the second round by Michael Nunn, who was fighting at middleweight. Michael Nunn was an undefeated middleweight. This is right after Marvin Hagler had retired from boxing. We had the rise of Sumbu Kalimbe. We had the rise of Harold Graham. We had the rise then of Michael Nunn, Julian Jackson, Mike McCallum. These guys rose right after Marvin Hagler left the scene. And some of those guys would have beaten Marvin Hagler's ass, and Marvin Hagler knew that. Okay? I'm pretty sure Mike McCallum would have outboxed him. But the point is, at the end of the day, but that's my speculation. That's just speculation. But the point is, at the end of the day, my point is not that. My point is this. Triple G is significantly bigger than Marvin Hagler. Triple G is like, if you go in throwback days, he's like a light heavyweight to Marvin Hagler. You see? And Marvin Hagler fought as a tough guy. He had decent defense, but he fought as a tough guy. He was not going to win no tough guy fight against that dude. Marvin Hagler fought mostly guys that were smaller than him, but they were reputable names. You think about it. Marvin Hagler fought Roberto Duran, who was coming up in weight. Marvin Hagler fought Thomas Hearns, who was coming up in weight. Marvin Hagler fought Sugar Ray Leonard, who was a welterweight. Marvin Hagler fought, when you think of the reputable names that Marvin Hagler fought, they were smaller guys coming up in weight. That King of Fair says, yo, can you please tell us how you should train for fights? King of Fair says, amount of miles, rounds, and sparring. So anyway, my thing is, I'm not really covering that right now, my friend, but some other time we could talk about that. But I can refer you to some channels that you can look at. Look at the channel Master Boxing. Look at the channel. You can write it down. Master Boxing. It's a YouTube channel. So Master Boxing is a good channel. Coach Anthony. That's an actual channel. That's the name of it. Precise Striking. That's another channel. And you can search through the videos and you'll see what you need to see. I gave you 3 channels. So that should be enough. Yeah, go through those. Oh, you can also check Coach Barry Robinson. It's not. There are more modern methods now to get your cardio up and to get you more into a boxing groove, so you don't actually have to run miles anymore. There's some activities. You have to get a certain strength and conditioning coach for that. And so, but there are other things you can do now other than running to get your cardio up. And of course, you can also use swimming and a number of other things. Okay. So it depends on what it is you're working on, particularly for that. So the details. So go check out those channels, though. They may have something on that. You have to look around a little bit, though. Back to what I was saying. So So my point anyway is, see, people don't think about all those things. See, and it's not trying to speculate or anything. I'm just telling you that boxing today is has come a long way from boxing yesteryear, and there are a lot of things that have changed in the sport. You know, where certain people were very specific to those changes. Um, Today is a little bit different. Okay. Um, Suffice it to say, I'll try to tell people: do not get caught up in nostalgia. You need to know what the reality of a situation is. You have to speak on that reality. It's like if you're going to predict a fight, right? You have to do your homework, which means looking at the fighters, looking at their fighting styles, look at what they do well, what they don't do well. And that's what helps you to understand, okay, this guy's going to do this to this guy, and this guy's going to do this to this guy. So, for example, I predicted that Jamal Charlo was going to knock out Jason Rosario. I was able to see that based on some previous fights and what happened to Jason Rosario in those fights. And then I was able to look at what Jamal Charlo does. That's what I was able to make my prediction video. And that's a similar way in how you can look at anything through time and get a pretty accurate assessment of what would happen in a fight. Because when you look at styles, one, when you look at the character of the fighter and their tenacity, their mindset, etc., in their fights, you look in the fights. Yes, a fighter doesn't fight exactly like how you see in their fights. And of course, when you look at footage of them, obviously you're not looking at it face on, head on, so you're not seeing all the little feints and all the other little things they do. But you just want an idea of their fighting style. You want an idea of what they do. So you go and you watch footage of them. You don't have to watch the entire fight or all that stuff. You just want to see what they bring to the table. What's their style? What do they do well? Okay? That's the key. Their skill set. What they do well. Okay? So when you know what a fighter does well, and you look at another fighter that may have a little bit of variety in what they do, and maybe a broader scope. So you watch like 2-3 fights, just little bits of them. You don't want to see the whole thing. You just want an idea of what the fighter does. Because, you know, as a always you learn in boxing, it's not so much about what the other opponent is doing, it's what you're doing, right? That counts. So it always comes back, the onus always comes back to you when you're fighting. So at the end of the day, you know, when you're looking at, like, say, for instance, fighter Z or fighter A or fighter Z, right? Fighter Z, let's say. Fighter Z. You watch 3 fights of fighter Z to see if he varies, if he evolves, if he changes in his fights. It depends on what time in his career he is there. If you see a vulnerability somewhere, he got stopped somewhere, you watch that, or he got hurt somewhere, you look at that. Right? You want to just see if he got any flaws in the game. Did he improve? You look at a fight probably further down the road to see if he made adjustments to the difficulty that he may have gone through. So these little things you look at with fighters and styles, that gives you an idea of, okay, this is what this guy, okay, he's vulnerable here. This is what he do. Okay, fine. And then you go to now looking at your fighter or the fighter that you're going to make assessment about, or the A side or whatever. And you see the same things. You look for vulnerabilities that they may have, or you just look to see what kind of style it is, what kind of fighter he is. Is it a swarmer? Is it a boxer? Is it somebody that boxes at range? Is it somebody that boxes in close? Can the person do all those things? And then from that information now, you know, okay, the guy who has the widest set of skills and the sharp and hone skills probably going to win the fight. Or you look at you just imagine the style clash up in your head and you can see, okay, so this guy could do this. And this guy, he's vulnerable to this. So therefore. So that's how you look at things. And from that, you're able to assess and say, okay, this guy's going to do this to this guy. So the same thing that happens if you're going to look at guys from different eras. And when you start looking at fighters from different eras, you realize how much one fighter from a more recent era has evolved the style or the way of doing things than the fighter from the previous era. It always happens that way, no matter what. Every single era, guys have added to what was already there before. And some things are lost, as we said in translation, and some things are gained. But it always progresses forward. And so I just think that fighters are more intentional, more meticulous, much smarter in the ring than back in the days when guys just used to throw hands. I truly believe that. And even when I look at certain fighters like certain great fighters that they talk about in the past, how they lunge in with their shots, and sometimes they don't lead with the right technique. They don't lead with the right game plan. It tells me a lot about the fighters, you know. So I just thought I would talk about this. When people do things excellently, you're going to get a lot of hate. Not everything people understand, particularly the fans, don't understand everything that they see. And boxing is such a layered sport in a certain way. It's simple. It's a simple sport, but yet it's such a layered sport. It's not easy to do, but it's definitely much easier for any old Joe who doesn't even know shit about boxing to talk about. And that's cool too, because it leads to a lot of conversations. But people say a lot of dumb things as well. And I just find that, it's nice when you meet somebody who at least has some kind of knowledge in the sport to have a better conversation with. And we're getting more and more people who are learning the sport. Obviously, it's getting very much more popular. But at the end of the day, I think that still the guys who are at the top, even though I think most of the people in the boxing business, actual boxers, respect these fighters. And I guess that's all the fighters need, really, is the respect from their contemporaries or their peers. But still, I find it a travesty when fans just willy-nilly off the top of their head start talking shit that it's not even factually based. That's my pet peeve. And I don't care if that person may be agreeing with me 99% of the time, and we may be in one mind. When you start talking nonsense, which is not factual, and I see it all the time, it really bugs me. Because it's like, dude, at least do some homework. I was listening to a guy, big Floyd Mayweather fan apparently, and he's just giving false fact after false fact after. I was like, Jesus Christ. Come on, dude. Like, can't you even get some factual information together? Poopy Sister says, why does people think that Canelo paid off Judge for the Floyd fight? Wouldn't he pay all three just to make that? That makes no sense. Dude, it's just a hateration. It's just what you call hateration. It's stupidity. Like, first of all, why would you think about this now? You're making money on a fight. Why would you pay off judges when you're getting paid? Remember, you're getting paid for the fight, win, lose, or draw. You're going to make money, right? You're going to make bank. Why are you going to give some of your bank to the judges when you know you have the confidence you're going to beat a fighter? Why would you need to pay off the judges? You get what I'm saying? Now, Golden Boy was the promoters of Canelo. And I'm not gonna lie. For the Lara fight, I thought that one of the scorecards was way off. For the Trout fight, two judges had it right, and then one judge had it way off. In the Mayweather fight, which was a unanimous decision win, one judge had it. I think one judge had it a draw. With Canelo. And so that did look a bit fishy, but at the end of the day, why would he pay off the judges? Why would the fighter pay off the judges? And now Canelo doesn't have Golden Boy with him, so that's not going to happen anymore. That issue about judges scoring for Canelo just based on him being Canelo, it's not going to happen. Because now he's his own promoter. He's his own free agent. And as we clearly saw with Callum Smith, he clearly won that fight. Not only if or buts, he clearly won that fight. Did Smith win even a single round? Okay, so my point is this. There's no excuse now going forward for saying that Canelo won is ducking fighters because there's no Golden Boy in the equation. So we all know Canelo's going to face whoever he wants to face, and that means he's going to face certain fighters. Two, you can't say that he paid off judges or anything because there's no Golden Boy in the equation. And if he's cleanly winning fights, what you going to say? Right? So I just think that people, when you achieve a certain level of success, people try to deny you that success. There's no way Terrence Crawford right now should be pound for pound number one. Yeah, he beat Kell Brook, but Kell Brook is no Callum Smith. What I mean by that is Callum Smith was rated the number one super middleweight in the world by by winning the Super Series for the super middleweight division. And that's something that Terrence Crawford did not do. Terrence Crawford didn't even face a top 10 welterweight this year. So you cannot put Terrence Crawford ahead of Canelo. You just can't. Because level of competition shows the skill set that you have. Canelo had a dominating performance against the lineal champion of the 168-pound division. You got to give Canelo his props. That's like Terrence Crawford dominating Errol Spence every single round, because Errol Spence is right now the number one welterweight division, which did not happen. So you cannot rate Terrence Crawford as pound for pound over Canelo. You cannot do it, because Canelo displayed, how high his level of skills are, whereas Terrence Crawford did not do that against competition to show that. So you cannot rate Terrence Crawford ahead of Canelo. It's just impossible. Canelo's going to be the pound for pound number one fighter again for yet another year. 2019 was pound for pound number one, and universally he's going to be pound for pound number one again this year. No matter how much they put Terrence Crawford, if Terrence Crawford faced better competition, we could have his name up there, but he hasn't. So I can't put Terrence Crawford as pound for pound number one. I never will. And the other point is, I'm not saying I never will, but at this point in time, this year, no, hell no. Okay. And D Styles is sexist against Shields. Yeah, for sure. He comes with this bullshit, but that's his thing. But we all know Clarissa Shields is the GOAT. Right now, she's gonna cross over to MMA very soon. She already signed with a promoter for MMA, so she's gonna be fighting in boxing and MMA. Just now, he won't have nothing he can say, because Clarissa Shields is gonna be fighting in MMA, and she's gonna be fighting in boxing and dominating. Then what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say then? They cannot deny Clarissa Shields. She is the GOAT, and she will prove it. So all those who, again, hating on Clarissa Shields, and they on a hateration. And I didn't always like Clarissa Shields. I didn't always like her, to be honest. But I like her now. And she's proving and she's growing as a fighter, both in boxing, and now she's branching off into MMA as well. I wish her nothing but the best, because once again, these fighters, they're outspoken or whatever, but at the end of the day, they backing up their stuff. They're backing up what they say. You got to respect that. You got to respect it, man. Jerome Ennis is on the rise. We want to see how he do. He's another one to look out for. We got some good fighters out there. You know what I mean? And so, Steve Fulton is out there. That's a good fight. He's in this, super featherweight division, I think it is. He's another good fighter. So, I mean, we got some really good fighters on the horizon. And again, all you got to do is just watch the fighters. Watch the fighters to see what they're doing. But I don't like the disrespect that they try to give to both Canelo right at this point in time. This man has earned his shot. He's earned his space, and he's only growing and getting better. And I just don't see anybody right now that can actually depose of him. They'll have to show me something to prove that to me. But in the meantime, I hope those guys face each other. This is what you need. I'm out of the building. Shout out to each and every one of you guys that participated in this comment section. Of course, like I said before, I get fun off of the people who be tripping over Floyd and Canelo. They're the guys that it's Canelo's time. Floyd's time's over, but it's Canelo's time now. And who's angry, who's salty, who's mad, suck some salt, man. Canelo gonna run through all of them. He's gonna run through Charlo. He's gonna run through Andre. Andre need to put himself in position, though. Billy Joe Saunders. We need to run through those guys. And we'll see what's up. I'm gonna catch you guys later. More what you need. I'm out. Peace.